The third area that we were going to discuss in regards to focus, we talked about how we can manipulate pressure, how we could actually define it, and how we can manipulate it to reduce it in the mind, particularly in those big games that count the most. Pressure often comes down to two simple variables. On one hand, we have expectations. Now, all of us have been through this. All of us have been through an important season and a big game where we've got a lot of external expectations on us. From family, from friends, from the media, fan base, etc. And we've also got internal expectations. The things we want for ourselves, the things we demand of ourselves throughout a season. Collectively, those external expectations and internal expectations constitute our overall expectations. And expectations can be graded or scaled on that scale of 1 to 10. Looks like this. Very simple. From 1 to 10, we've got expectations. And those expectations, again, are external, and they are internal. Now, we've also got another scale that comes into play concerning pressure. And that scale is our confidence scale. And this won't be the last time you hear me say this. I alluded to it in our previous section on composure. I will talk about it in great depth when we discuss confidence in the following section. But for right now, remember our confidence and self-belief. And we said you will never outperform your self-belief system. Confidence is just that important. And just like we've got an expectation scale from 1 to 10, confidence can be ranked on a scale of 1 to 10. Now, here's where this whole thing gets interesting in our mind regarding what we choose to focus on and our overall mindset. Anytime there is a gap between expectations and confidence, this is where pressure actually grows and thrives. Now think about this for a second. For some, you'd have a hard time getting your arms around this whole idea of pressure and expectations and confidence because you'll say, hey, Spence, look at established Hall of Famers. Now, think about their expectations, how high those were. Externally, what the media and the fan base demanded of, and there are many other individuals, of course, we can throw into the mix. Think about the external expectations on these individuals. They were through the roof. Every game they played, they expected to see something miraculous almost. Now think about the internal drivers of these individuals. They pushed themselves extremely hard. They demanded some very, very, very tough things of themselves. Their internal expectations were through the roof, especially in those big games, under pressure. Now, think about my model for just a second when it comes to pressure and the gaps between expectations and confidence. There might be some that say, hey, their expectations were a 10, combining external and internal. Their expectations were so extremely high. If that's the case, why didn't they feel pressure more often? Why wasn't there that gap between confidence and expectations? How come they didn't choke more often? Why didn't they have a harder time dealing with that pressure more often? And my response is very simple. Their confidence level was so high, almost to a point of hubris or positive arrogance. Their confidence was so high, it was on the same level of expectation. They knew in their heart that they would come through in these situations. They would be at their best in these situations. And when confidence is on the same level of expectations, there is no gap. There is no pressure. We feel pressure and we get tight and we get nervous when we feel there's a legitimate chance we may not live up to expectations. Our self-belief system, our confidence, when we really feel there's a legitimate chance we may not meet those expectations, we feel pressure. Whether those expectations are self-driven, internal, or whether those expectations are external, fans and the media base, or a combination of those. If we truly believe in our heart that there's a really good chance we're not going to come through, our self-belief system doesn't feel like we have the ability to meet those expectations, that's when we feel pressure. Now here's the key question. Once we understand that, what can we do in our brain, in our mind, in regards to actually focus before a game and during a game that's actually going to reduce pressure?